All right, so now we're going to go on to the 7-note away perfect fifth, which is where we left off last time, noting that it's the fifth position. That's what this perfect fifth means. It's the fifth position. This 7 is telling me that it's 7 notes away. So if you counted it up on a piano, including the black notes and the white notes being half steps, it would be 7 notes away. So that's going to be the idea now, because it's a odd number. And in chord constructions, we skip every other note of the scale. It's also going to be named the same from a chord construction. The 1, 3, 5. The 5 is part of the major triad construction and minor triad construction. It's a main note in triads, whether you're talking about a major or minor, but it's not the distinctive note. It's in both the major and minor triad, that interval. Therefore, it's ambiguous. So we're going to see it all the time, because this note, we've seen it within all the modes. We have this perfect fifth. It's going to come up all the time, and it's going to be more recognizable or possibly more useful than the perfect fourth, which is also in the major and minor scales. Why? Because it's part of the triad construction. It's part of the normal triad in both the major and minor scales. So we're going to see it all the time, and we want to know it. One reason it's useful to know is because notice that if I go to any other mode and I know I know the shape of the mode, and I'm like, okay, I know all the notes that are in the mode because I know the shape. Then the question is, well, I could build a chord from any of the notes in that shape. And of course, the problem is when I want to build a basic triad chord, or the main thing, right? That's what we normally want to do as a triad. We don't know what the third is, because that's going to be the question. It's going to be either a major third or a minor third, depending on our starting point. And we usually memorize that from the perspective of the major scale, knowing that the 1, 4, 5 is major, and that means that the 2, 3, and 6 is minor, and the 7's the funny one. But I might not know that if I'm in Aeolian mode or some other mode. But what I do know is that the fifth is good whether it's a major chord or a minor chord. That's why it's the power chord construction. So I can almost always add a fifth to any note that's in the scale, and I'm good to go. I can add a little bit more flavor to it, even though it's still ambiguous as to whether it's a major chord or a minor chord. The only one I can't add a normal fifth to is the Locrian, which is now on the second, because it has a flat fifth. So 6 out of the 7 in every mode, basically, in every mode, we can take whatever note is there and add a fifth, and we're safe, right? That'd be good to do. We're still in the scale. So that's useful to know. Also, just remember that in the Aeolian mode, when we're trying to build the chords and say, how do we build the chords? Well, we still have the 1, 4, 5 happen to now be in a minor kind of blues. Those are the minor chords. And then it's a little wonky that the 2 happens to be the Locrian one, the weird one. And that means that the rest of them, which is going to be the 3 and the 6 and the 7, are going to be the major chords. They're going to have a major third when I build a chord on it. All right, so let's go around this one. So let's say we're going to go up 1 and say, where are all the fifths around this string? Because that's always a safe interval. So if I go, well, let's go on the same string first. 7 notes away, that's too far to reach. So I'm going to look for the inverse distance. I can't really reach it going up this way because it's 7 notes up. That's quite a ways. So maybe I go behind it. If it's 7 notes one way, 12 minus 7 is going to be 5. So I go 5 notes back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there it is there. So if I go 5 notes back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I went from here to here, the E to A, that would be a 5-note away perfect fourth. But the inverse then, of course, going from A to E is a 7-note away perfect fifth. So there's that one. All right, let's go above it, and I can see it right there. So if I go above it, and I'm looking for a 7-note away perfect fifth, I have to look for the inverse distance whenever I'm going above the string. So that's going to be 12 minus 7, which is 5. So that means if I go up just one fret, there's a 5-note distance between the strings. So that's going to be right there. So if I just go up one 5-note distance, so if I went from top to bottom, the E to the A, that would be a 5-note away perfect fourth, and therefore from the bottom to the top, 7-note away perfect fifth. All right, let's go up 2 strings, and we can see we're going to be out here. If I go up 2 strings, it's going to be -5, -10, and then if I go this way, I'm going to go back towards 0. So -5, -10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. So it's a 5-note distance for the inverse distance. Let's count it up here. -5, -10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. So from here to here, top to bottom, E to A would be a 7-note away, would be a 5-note away perfect fourth. But from bottom to top would be a 7-note away perfect fifth. So I should go, and so that means if I go up 2 strings, the 7-note away perfect fifth will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets forward, unless I cross the fault line, which would happen on either of these 2 bottom strings. Let's say we picked this A here, and if we go up 2 strings, it would be right there. So if I go up 2 strings, the 7-note away perfect fifth will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets forward, unless I'm on the bottom 2 strings, in which case, because this tectonic plate shifted to the right, if I go up 2 strings, it's going to be a lesser distance. So if I go up 2 strings and cross the fault line, the 7-note away perfect fifth is only 4 frets forward. Let's do that quick analysis on this one because we skipped it. If I go up 1 string, the 7-note away perfect fifth is on the same fret unless I cross the fault line, which would only happen on the B string. So if I was on that string, then because this tectonic plate shifted to the right, then it's going to be back here. So if I go up 1 string, the 7-note away perfect fifth will be on the same fret unless I cross the fault line, which would only happen on the B string, in which case, if I go up 1 string and cross the fault line, the 7-note away perfect fifth will be 1 fret back. Okay, let's go down a string. So there we have it there. So now we're going to go down a string, and we're looking for a 7-note away perfect fifth. We don't need to look for the inverse distance. We could just count it out. 5 notes between the string, 6, 7. So I can count it out this way. 5 notes between the string, 6, 7. So that's going to be the normal power chord type shape you might recognize. Whoops. What? So that one's possibly the most common one that we see, that you might see. And notice when you're doing that kind of power chord kind of thing, I can mute the string above it. So I can get a little bit more aggressive with the power chords if I practice the muting techniques. But so there we have that. So that means that the 7-note away perfect fifth, if I go down 1 string, will be 2 frets forward unless I cross the fault line, which would only happen on the G string, in which case, because this tectonic plate moved forward, it's going to be a longer distance. So the rule is if I go down 2 strings, the 7-note away perfect fifth will be 2 frets forward unless I cross the fault line, which only happens on the G string, in which case if I go down, it could happen on the G string, or I'm going down 1 string. What happened here? What am I doing? This one is right there. Unless I'm on the G string, in which case if I go down 1 string and cross the fault line, the 7-note away perfect fifth will be 3 frets forward. All right? And so let's go down to the next one. It's going to be back here. So now I'm going down 2 strings and crossing the fault line. So it's going to be 5, 10 as we cross the fault line, 9, 8, 7. Let's count it out here. So it's going to be 5 and then 10 up here, 9, 8, 7. So that means if I go down 2 strings and cross the fault line, the 7-note away perfect fifth will be back 2 frets. So, but what if I didn't cross the fault line? If I was on either the E or the A strings, I wouldn't cross the fault line. So if I picked up this A and went down 2 strings, it would be right here, still haven't crossed the fault line. So it's tighter when I cross the fault line. It's a little bit less of a reach because, of course, this tectonic plate moved up if I'm measuring from here. If I'm measuring from here, then If I go down 2 strings, the 7 note away perfect fifth will normally be 1, 2, will be 3 frets back, unless I cross the fault line, which would happen on either the D or the G string, in which case if I go down 2 strings and cross the fault line, the 7 note away perfect fifth will be 2 frets back. All right, and then let's go down to the last one, which is the big reach. So if I go down 3 strings and cross the fault line, it's going to be 5 here, crossing the fault line to 10 up here, and then 15 to here. 15 minus 12 brings me back down to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so we can count that up here. We could say this is going to be 5, and then up here to 10. 15. 15 minus 12 is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So from here to here. So there it is. I could also say, well, why don't I count it up this way? It might be shorter because it's only a couple strings up. If I did that, I'd have to take the inverse distance. I'm looking for the 7 note away perfect fifth on the top string. So once again, we'd say, well, that means that I have to take the inverse. 12 minus 7 is 5. And so I'd say -5, -10, and then -5, -10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. And that E is also represented down here. So if I go down 3 strings and cross the fault line, the 7 note away perfect fifth is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets forward. What if I don't cross the fault line, which could only happen on the top string, in which case if I go down 1, 2, 3 strings, then, wait a sec, if I go down 3 strings, there it is. So the rule is if I go down 3 strings, the 7 note away perfect fifth will be 1, 2, 3, 4 frets forward unless I cross the fault line, which would happen 2 out of 3 times that I could go down 3 strings. And in that case, if I go down 3 strings and cross the fault line, the 7 note away perfect fifth will be 5 frets forward. So that makes perfect sense. Okay. All right. Let's try a joke before going to the next one here.